Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening. This is um, Move.
Yes.
This is Move Easy Yoga
Mhm.
online with Via. Can someone meet everybody? It's July 11th, 2020. We're going to do the sideline practice, and we're going to get started right away. And I am going to cancel my spotlight and put Kathy in the spotlight. Everyone needs a brick or something to rest their head on. Let's start lying on your back, um, the same as usual. I'm going to find my script. Um, just start to notice your breath. Come into the room. Notice your world here in the virtual classroom. You may want to adopt a sankalpa or an intention for your class. Take some breaths. Hi, Vivian. And we're going to start with vagus nerve reset. Put your hands behind your head. Release your fingers. Close your eyes or keep them open, but don't move anything but your eyeballs and move your eyeballs to the right. And wait for a swallow, sigh, yawn, or gulp. Come back to center, eyeballs left. Wait for a yawn, sigh, swallow, or gulp. And then come back to center. And repeat this two more times, two more sets. Right, left, right, left. Finish up. And then keep your hands where they are and press the back of the skull, the back of the base of the skull, into your hands. Head ramping. And four more times. So pause after you've ramped and then release. Finish up and bring your arms by your hips. We're going to do a bridge, hypopressive bridge pose. Your ankles and feet are dorsiflexed, toes, heels on the floor, toes toward the ceiling, palms on the floor. 3 breaths, and then lifting your hips and bringing your arms overhead while I count to 10 and you hold your breath out. I'll cue the breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. No breath. Lift your hips up and your arms overhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale, and then exhale, the arms and the hips come down. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. No breath. Lift your hips up and your arms overhead, straight arms overhead. 1, no breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale, and then exhale. The hips come down and the arms come back. Let's do some breath work. Let's do Viloma breathing. So dividing your inhale into thirds, taking a third of a breath and pausing, then another third, and then another third. And by the end of the third third, your lungs should be totally filled up. And then exhale. And repeat. Inhale, pause, inhale, pause. Inhale, pause, exhale. So 4 more of those. Finish up and find your way onto your side for a side lying practice. I'm going to try to do this with you. So I'm bringing my laptop down onto the floor, pushing Frida off of my yoga mat. Frida, she won't go. Oh my gosh. Okay, you're lying on your side, your hips are stacked, your shoulders are stacked. The brick is thick or thin, and you could even have a towel on top of the brick. What you need to do is make sure you have enough room for your shoulder, your bottom shoulder to stack. Okay, now, here I am. The first, we're going to do 2 triplets. So 6 shoulder movements first, and then 3 leg movements. And the first shoulder movement is scapula protraction, retraction. So you bring your arm out in front of you, parallel to the floor. And can everybody hear me?
A little muffled.
Little muffled. You know, I'm embarrassed to say I got a little speaker, but I may not be able to participate. I got another speaker, but I bought a little unusual battery for it, and I put it in, and the battery, it doesn't work, and I don't know whether I have the battery upside down or there's some other button I'm not pushing. I guess I should start paying attention to it. I'm gonna bring this way up closer, and maybe that'll be better. So I won't be able to put my arm way out there, but, okay, so this is a scapular movement, and you need to think of moving from the scapula. And Caitlin has her photo up, she figured it out. So so the arm moves forward when you move the scapula away from the spine, and then the arm moves back because the scapula moves towards the spine. So being aware of the scapular movement as you go back and forth, and you can add a breath, inhaling one direction and exhaling the other. The arm is straight out in front of you, palm down. Should feel good, I think. It feels good because the scapula needs to move, and before you got here, you may not even have known you had a scapula. So this brings us in touch with our back body, upper back body. Think of what's happening on the outside and the inside of your body. And stop. The next movement is just take your arm up towards the ceiling and then back down to parallel. So this is, some people call it sunrise, sunset. This is a lateral abduction and adduction of the arm. The arm bone, actually, the humerus. And do these slowly and with awareness, and actually just do maybe 3 or 4 times. If you have time, you can do more or rest, because this, believe it or not, this is quite an ambitious physical workout, this shoulder series. The last one, keep your arm up when you come to the top, sunrise, and then start to do an internal and external rotation at the shoulder. So I like to put my hand right in front of the arm bone, so I can feel the internal rotation, which is forward, and the external rotation, which is back. And the trick is, or the tip is, don't have this be a movement coming from the wrist, because you'll bypass the shoulder altogether. And so the shoulder moves, and then the wrist moves because of the shoulder movement. If you do bypass and use the elbow or the wrist instead, you can put your wrist in a fist. It helps keep it out of the game. And but if you do, this is one of the things that happens to people, they get frozen shoulders when they start bypassing the shoulder joint and just moving at the elbow or the wrist. And go ahead and relax rest your hand on your hip. And you can shake it if you want, do anything you want. That's quite a bit of actual movement. Did we do all 3? Yes, we did all 3. The next three, well, so let's start with snow angels, technical snow angels. So the first thing you're going to do is externally rotate your arm at the hip, so at the shoulder while it's lying on the hip, and then bring it up by your ear. So by the time you come up, your palm is facing the floor. And then you bring the palm facing forward and come back down. So when it's going up, it's facing one direction, and when it's coming down, it's facing another direction. Up you go. They're both at levels of external rotation, actually. Frida and I are fighting for the mat. She's biting my feet. I had to move so I could get enough room to do the overhead movement, and you may have to do that too. This is a great overhead movement, and overhead is one of the movements that we lose as we get older if we don't do this kind of work. And then the next thing you're going to do is bring your arm back to the hip and make a shoulder circle. So the trick is to keep your shoulders stacked so you're not moving the back shoulder, the top shoulder, back to make your shoulder circle. Make it slow and easy. More notice your breath. Think of what's happening on the inside of your body and the out. Being aware of your movement and being aware of what's happening on the inside actually increases the value of your practice. It affects your balance because it increases your proprioception and your interoception, which will improve your balance. So that's just because of awareness, inner and outer awareness. Go ahead and reverse your circle. And finish up. Rest. Let's rest for a minute. You can shake your arm or shoulder if you want. And then let's finish up our shoulder sets, two triplets, with a flying pizza. Bring your forearm forward, palm facing down. And then you go ahead and rotate your wrist and then bring your forearm up. As far back as you can get it. Some people won't be able to get back as far as Kathy. And so there's a couple things going on here. And one of them is the rotation at the wrist. So first it's facing down your palm, and then it's facing towards your ear as you come up. And the other thing that's happening, you should be feeling some work in the back of your shoulder blade. This is really good for rotator cuff muscles, strengthening the rotator cuff. Do a couple more. One more. And pause and shake your arm out if you want. Or slap your shoulder or your arm. like Daniel taught us was good to do. Okay, and now straighten your legs. We're going to do 3 hip or leg movements. The first movement is flexion, is lifting, actually, is abduction and adduction. So lifting, you can droop your toes and just lift and lower. Try to keep everything else quiet. Think about the inside and the outside. You can put your hand on your hip or your thigh if you want to add a little more resistance. So these are body weight movements. Almost all of the ones we do are, unless we're doing resistance training where well, that is still body weight, but it's adding body weight resistance. And then finish up there and start to go forward, flexion and extension. When you go forward, dorsiflex your foot. When you go backward, point your toes backwards. And back and forth you go. And try to keep the hip, the torso still. And actually the pelvis too. The only thing that's moving is the head, is the femur. Well, actually the foreleg comes along for the ride. But try to keep the torso and the hips and the rib cage still, if you can. You're adding ankle work by moving your feet like this. And if you want to, you could add a glute squeeze as you go back. So go back to the back, squeeze your glute, release, and come forward. And a couple more. And stop, bend your knee, and we're going to do clams, and we're going to add some resistance, Kihara style resistance later, but for the beginning, ankles and feet stay together and the knee just comes up to away from the other knee. Top knee comes away from the bottom knee. Try to keep this in the hips, but don't drop the pelvis so the hips stay stacked. Keep it actually in the thigh or the leg. The rib cage is still, the head is still. Being aware of what's going on in the inside. It's actually a very isolated movement at where the head of the femur meets the acetabulum, which is the joint, the hip joint. Do a couple more. Now we're going to add, you may need to bring your knees a little farther forward and then add some resistance with your hand at the top of the top knee. And then when you press up, the hand presses down, and when the hand presses down, the knee presses into the hand to resist the downward movement of the knee. So don't make this too hard or you'll exhaust yourself and maybe more in a very short time. It's just a little resistance dance between the hand and the knee. And now we've done that whole side, except I'm going to show you something that I think I hope I can do this, have Kathy do this. I'm gonna have you straighten out your whole body and put your hips on the brick that you have, and then have your elbows be on your elbow. And
I put it on a ball.
so what, you're gonna use a ball? Okay.
Yeah. The brick is, I mean, I can try it on the brick, but
Okay, so there you are, lying on the floor, and actually you could start down here, but what you want to do is lift your both legs are together and you lift them up. Lift your legs up. Yes, that's it.
oh, okay.
No, I don't have to. I don't. I think this is not something for me because of my hurt hip, which actually tells me something about myself. It may my QL may be involved. So lift your hips and then lower them, and you should feel it at the waist. I'm poking myself, but you can see that you can't see that, but it's at the waist. So at the work is at the top side of the waist, at the QL muscle, and this is actually a muscle that can be very weak and gets very little attention. You can actually, if you put your hand on the muscle, you can actually feel the work. Up you go, down you go. Don't do it very many times or you'll be exhausted. This is the muscle, Leslie, that I injured in before I went to Camp Camino. Actually, I injured the right side one. And then whoops, go ahead and flip over, flip to the other side, and why not do this one and get it out of the way. We'll do this one before we do the whole series. So flip over and do this QL.
Oh.
Jill Miller has a name for this. I think it's called something like the magician. I don't know why. So, and you could have your body all the way down on the floor too. That's another option, but up on your elbow is fine. Stacking everything. Whoops.
This is harder.
This side is harder.
Yeah.
So that tells you something about your QL. It's on one side, it's maybe stronger than the other. Mermaid. No, just not mermaid. What is she? Oh, magician. She calls it a magician. Can you feel it on the top? Can you feel it on your top? So your legs should be, oh yeah, they are straightened. Don't do this too much, you guys, because this, if your QL is weak, you will be sore in the morning. But this is a great sideline pose. And you could do it without the brick. Although in a way it's harder without the brick, because there's not as many places to go. Okay, let's start the other side. Lying. I always feel like the sideline practice makes me feel like I get away with something because I'm doing so much moving, but I'm still lying on my side. Anyway, it's an illusion. An illusion of laziness. Take the arms straight out in front of you, and this is a scapula move, just scapula retraction and protraction. One of the reasons I repeat this is because I keep thinking that some of you guys are going to memorize it, and then it'll be available to you at any time, day or night. You know, if you want to feel like you need to move, you can do this little practice. Actually, if you did it by yourself, it would only probably take you about 15 minutes. Because
actually, it takes me about 30.
Will it take you about 30? Okay, 30. And then go ahead and go to the next move. arm to the sky and down. Go straight up and parallel. Breathing in and breathing out. Actually, as a general rule, I like to breathe, exhale on the the most efforted side. So here I would inhale coming down and exhale going up. And one more. Oh, let's make it two more. And then go ahead and bring your arm straight up and keep it up. Then we're going to do internal and external rotation at the head of the arm bone, at the shoulder joint. I like to put my hand right in front of the shoulder joint just to feel the joint as you internally rotate, which is coming forward, and externally rotating, which actually I always have to have a little extra effort there to get back as far as I can. So you want to try to internally rotate as far forward as you can, and then externally rotate as far back as you can. Make a fist to remind yourself not to move from the wrist. And this is a movement you could practice anywhere. You could be seated, and you don't have to, at that point, you don't have to have your hand all the way straight out like that. You could have it on an angle. You could have it just barely down by your hip and still rotate. So there's lots of different places that you could be doing this internal and external rotation. As long as you're isolating the movement, you just so you know. And then, let's see, what's the next one? Oh, rest a bit, because we just finished the 3. We just finished 3. Did we finish 3? So there was...
We did.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. We did 3. Okay, now the next set, the next 3, we're starting with technical snow angels. I'm going to have to move on my mat here, but just bring your arm up and over your head. And remember, there's 2 different places. When you come back down, your palm is facing forward, but the movement is from the shoulder. And then as you come back up, big external rotation at the arm, head of the arm bone. So, okay, come on up. And then come on back. Big external rotation. Arm goes up by the ear. The palm will face the floor. And then come on back. Do one more time. When you get back down to your arm is on your hip, just start making a shoulder circle. You can start going forward or backward. Slow and easy does it. Try not to, when you bring your arm back behind you, try not to bring your rib cage back with that. Just keep the rib cage and the shoulders stacked. You can even put your bottom arm on your rib cage to keep it stacked. The body wants to go back further, so sometimes it wants to take the rib cage with it. And actually, go ahead and reverse your circle. And the next time you have your arm back behind you, go ahead and allow your rib cage to go back and try to drop your arm to the floor. So your hips may even slide back too. Everything can slide back. This is a totally different move. This has almost nothing to do with what we just did, even though it looks like it does. So bring your arm back. You could look back towards the arm that's behind you. If that feels good, you can take your brick away if the brick seems to be in the way, and bring your both arms straight out so that they're like a T, and then see if you can look back behind you and open up your chest. This is a spine twist and a chest opener. Can you see? So the knees still stay forward. See if you can get your right shoulder on the floor. Maybe not. I can't. And stay here and take some breath. So your head is where it's comfortable. It could be looking to the left, to the right, or center. You should feel this as a big stretch in the front of the shoulder and the arm. We didn't do that on the other side, did we? So we'll have to remind me, and we'll do this at the end for the other side. Come on back. Come on back to stacked. That was a little digression. And then we're going to do flying pizza, right? So up and down. Remember, you're bringing your forearm back as far as you can get it. Some people won't be able to get it back as far as Kathy, but eventually they will. Stay stacked. Use your breath. One more. And stop. I guess we've done all 6 shoulder movements, plus a little extra one. And now go ahead and straighten your legs. And start the leg lift. Remember, you can droop your toes, and you can put your top hand on your hip or thigh. And just up and down you go. This is working on the inside and the outside of the thigh. If you start feeling it in the hip flexors, which is the crease, between the pelvis and the leg, you've gone too far. Just make it a little smaller movement. You want to try to isolate the movement here. And then stop. Rest a minute, I think. At least I'm tired. When I do them with you, I have a better gauge of when to stop, or when I want to stop. Straighten your leg again and do a flexion. The toes point forward, dorsiflexion when you come forward. When you come back, point them away from you, plantar flexion. So back and forth you go, trying to keep the rib cage still. And when you come back to the back, you can pause and squeeze your glute. And then return. So the backward movement of a straight leg is, or a bent leg actually, is extension, and then the forward movement is flexion. And we're getting a little ankle work in here too, ankle and foot work. And do one more. And then bend your knee and bring it and stack it on top of your bottom bent knee and leg. For clams, just lift the top knee away from the bottom knee. And try to keep the hips stacked. So if you start to feel like you're moving your butt back behind you, you're going too far. Or just, too far sounds too critical, too judgmental. It just means that you're not purely doing an adduction or an abduction of the hip. You're compensating with your hip flexor muscle. Now go ahead and bring your knees a little farther forward and put your hands on top of the knee. Continue the same movement with resistance. So the hand resists the knee and the knee resists the hand. You should feel this in your glutes, actually. Okay, I think that's probably enough. Go ahead and flip to the other side so we can do the spine stretch and chest opener on that side. Let's see here. So here you are on the other side. This is just the one that we didn't do remember the shoulder circles. And then at the end of the shoulder circle, I ask you to take your top arm behind you as far as you can go. So this is twisting the spine. This is a spine twist and a shoulder opener. Just stay here and breathe. This should be quite luxurious. You can put your head wherever it's comfortable, either looking straight up to the ceiling, or looking to the right, or looking to the left. But what you should feel is a really nice spine twist at the waist, and then also a twist, and also a chest opener and shoulder opener. Just stay here and rest. We don't have to act as if we don't have anything else to do. And then come onto your back, supine. And you still may want to have a stack of washcloths or something under your head. Put a brick of medium width between your legs. Between your thighs. And do 10 sets side to side. This is really basically a hip opener. If you'd like to, you can put your arms up in a cowboy or cactus, just to add a chest opener. So side to side, roll as far as you can go. That's comfortable. Keep pressing on your brick. And then make the brick narrow and keep going.
That's my fault. I made it narrow. Okay.
Make it narrow, press on it, keep moving side to side. And then put a strap around your thighs. I have to go get my strap. Cinch it up and rock from side to side. This time you're pressing out into the strap instead of pressing outward into the strap instead of pressing inward into the brick. Same thing. And then go ahead and bring your knees back. Keep the strap in place and lift your hips into a bridge. Keep your feet on the floor. Lift your hips into a bridge while you're pressing out into the strap with your hips. Lift up. Stay here if you can. If it's hard, put a brick underneath your hips. And then rock your head from side to side. Drop your hips, release the strap, find your way onto your belly for a back extension. Lie on your back with your hands beside your hips, palms up. We're not going to have time to do, we're going to have time to do just a little bit of this. Let's do one of these, just do a level one, and then we'll go to the airplane thoracic. So go ahead and inhale, and exhale, lift. Stay here and take a couple breaths. Lift up a little more if you can. And then inhale to prepare to return, and then exhale to return. And then bring your arms out in a T, palms down. We're not going to do the rest of that because we're running out of time. We're going to do the thoracic back stretch now. Looking, arms out in a T, looking right, lift your right leg and bring it behind you and over the opposite leg, keeping your arms and your chest on the floor. Return and repeat on the other side. Look left, raise your left leg. Now, if it's hard for you to do, if it hurts your lower back to do this leg movement, then I want you to just keep your legs straight on the floor and just alternate squeezing your glutes, your butt squeezes. Come on back and do it again one more time. Right and left. And finish up and find your way onto your back for 61-point guided meditation, Yoga Nidra meditation. I'm going to take my picture away so I don't have to look at myself reading a meditation script. Everyone should try to get as comfortable and warm as possible. You may want to put a blanket over your body, depending on the temperature at your house. In your virtual classroom, and you may want to put a washcloth over your eyes, or a sandbag if you have one. This is just to help your eyes relax. Go ahead and start to pay attention to the body parts I mentioned, starting with your breath. Breathing in and out. Now bring your awareness to the center of your eyebrows, center of your throat, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, right wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, left shoulder, elbow, wrist, left thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, left wrist, elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, spiritual heart center, right side of your chest, heart center, left side of your chest, heart center, navel center, center of your pelvis, right hip, right knee, ankle, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, left hip, knee, ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, navel center, heart center, center of your throat, center of your eyebrows. This completes your 61-point guided Yoga Nidra meditation. So go ahead and slowly start to bring your attention back to your breath. And then start to wiggle and stretch. You may want to stretch your legs in one direction and your arms overhead in the other direction. Wiggle and stretch. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Wiggle and wiggle. Wiggle right side, left side. Hug your right knee into your chest and then your left. Rock from side to side, both knees. And roll to the side into a fetal position. And rest here for about 30 seconds. Using your bottom arm as a pillow. And then come on up. Come on up to your favorite seated position. Unmute yourself, because we're going to say namaste together. I'm going to cancel the spotlight. I'm going to put myself into gallery mode so I get to see everybody's little tiles. I don't think I can do that for you, but you may want to do that too. So just bring your hands to your heart in a prayer pose. Press, 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 press. Just one last, actually a little bit of shoulder and chest work. And then go ahead and lift your occipital ridge, the back of the base of the skull, up a little bit so you can round, nod forward, honoring each other, bowing to each other, recognizing and acknowledging the light in each other, recognizing that we are all one light. And we're going to close the class by saying to each other, namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.